whoa, 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 whoa. Why am I dropping frames? Hold on a gosh darn moment. Google Drive? No Google Drive. Are we stable again? No, we're still dropping frames. So this is what the fuck I get new internet for, is it? I'm gonna stop the Twitch stream just to see if that makes a difference. We're still at 558. Might just not stream to Twitch. Ah, no, that's 850. I'm dropping frames. Why am I dropping frames? Didn't I like spend extra money to get like fucking like decent internet so I don't have to share with anybody? And here we fucking are, still dropping frames. What the hell is this shit? I'm confused. Legitimately quite confused as to how that could be happening. It's not a little bit either. It's 20% so far. I'm not uploading something else somewhere, am I? I don't think I am. Let me check my task manager real quick. Just to be sure that I'm not like using internet or anything else. Yeah, network, only OBS and Google Chrome. Why? Why is it an issue then? How could that possibly cause any issues? YouTube does say that it's a excellent connection. Anybody in chat can confirm whether or not like the stream is like stuttering or dropping or whatever? Because I'm a little bit confused as to the possibility of this not being good enough. And I have very little patience to deal with it today. I've been troubleshooting Linux stuff all day. Doesn't put you in a particularly amazing mood for this other kind of technical bullshit to happen. It's really weird. Only thing I can think about is maybe like Steam is downloading something in the background. No, because even then it would show me on... Yeah, no. Even then it would show me on Task Manager. I guess there's nothing we can do and we just have to hope that it stabilizes. But yeah, so it is kind of like shit, right? It doesn't become better when I like turn off the Twitch stream either. So I might as well just keep streaming on Twitch as well. Is my Ethernet cable like not entirely like plugged in properly? Like that's not how that works, I know, but at this point I am a bit confused. What the actual fuck, man? I can't even go ahead and reset my router at this point because I'm already live. What the hell? To be fair, it is like when it's dropping, it's only dropping to about like 5,000 kilobits instead of 6,000, so it's probably fine. I'm just gonna fucking get started, I guess. And we'll see where we end up. So, yeah, we set up the basic shape of the start of this area last time. We're just gonna kind of keep going at it and hope that we have some sort of inspiration strike us. Which is probably not going to happen because I'm going to be super preoccupied by the fact that my live streaming is absolutely messed the hell up, which is weird. I'm going to keep complaining about that, by the way. Why is it doing that? Is there any reason that it will reasonably do that that I can fix? Don't think so. Is there any like... The only thing I could do is reset the router, but that's going to take like 5 minutes, at which point YouTube is going to end the stream automatically. So I think so we can't really do that either. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like put this in a place where I can't see that it's dropping frames, and then the issue will be fixed because it will no longer be dropping frames because I can't see it anymore. That's how that works, surely. Yeah, so we have this area where we get started, then we do our first like little bit here, then we get a whole bunch of upgrades. I do believe I did put this one in here specifically for the thumbnail, and then we have these two like split paths, right? So if I pick up this one, this becomes unavailable and the other way around. And going from there, we're supposed to like have something happen here, which opens up a path here, which lets us go through, get another like upgrade, and I want to do that like 2 or 3 more times. And then we want to have like a boss fight, and that'll altogether be like a fun like 5-minute or so diversion for the gameplay, and that's all that it's going to need to be as well. So I guess let's get started. I do want to, I think, make a new type of let me think how I'm going to do this. I want to make a new type of object. I have something in my teeth. There we go. I want to make a new type of object, right? Because we have these like little drones that we've been using so far. And these run entirely based on a state tree, which is fine. But if I take this TwinStick enemy class and I just make something that doesn't have a state tree or nothing like that, it doesn't even really need to have movement. It has a movement component through C++, but we don't really like necessarily need that for what I want to do next. We can just use this exact same thing more or less as a turret, and we'll have like a couple of different options for turrets, one that aims, one that doesn't aim. So let's start with like basic turrets, and then we can have a turret that also like rotates or something like that. So in order to do that, we're going to copy over TwinStick anyway, because it's got like some stuff that we want to have to begin with. And this way we can have some different challenges, right? So this will be a like slightly more timing based challenge, which is mostly about avoiding stuff, instead of only ever having a bunch of like things that we need to shoot down. So let's call this BP TwinStick turrets. It's going to take a moment. And this we're just gonna go for... I mean, I guess this works. As a placeholder, sure, why not? Let's make them a little bit bigger. That'll be a good placeholder. We don't really need this to have any like notable collision, so we can make the collision for this like, I don't know, 20 by 20 by 20. That's 2. That makes sense. Why that not square? So it's just 20 by 20 by 20. That's fine. And then something's going wrong here. We don't need to do this to begin with, so that's fine. I can get rid of the HP here. Yeah. I don't know what this custom event is. On perception updated, also don't care about that. We can get rid of the state tree as well. So we don't really need anything in begin play. Receive damage, we don't need to do anything either because we can't kill these things. Can't deactivate the enemies either. So yeah. I guess all that this is going to do is we're going to go on like begin play. We'll set in a delay, which will be our start delay. Should be instance editable. And then we're just going to set on a timer. Set timer by events. Make a custom event. Time between shots. I don't know. I think I want to complicate this a little bit more than it is right now. I'm still dropping about 1/5 of my frames, so I hope that anybody is like actually still here. Because it's like, if this is unwatchable, I don't blame you if you've like just left at this point. If you haven't, I would very much like to hear whether or not the stream is like of decent quality as far as like dropping goes, like stuttering, that kind of stuff. Twitch says I'm still live, but I don't think I am. No, I'm not. So yeah, we're just gonna like leave Twitch for now, I think, because apparently I can't even like leave one stream going. I'm really confused as to what's happening. Surely I'm not on like the... Yeah, I'm on a wired connection. Oh, let's not show that. I don't think there's anything important in here. Yeah, no. I'm on an Ethernet connection, so it's not like going on a like wrong Wi-Fi network or anything, right? No. Yeah, this is really weird. Either way, what I want to do is I want to have a more complicated loop of stuff happening. So let's just draw this out real quick, right? Ooh, that's also kind of sluggish. Is it my PC slowing down? That's surely not, right? That's just what I'm thinking right now. Maybe it's on my internet. Maybe it's like my CPU not having a good time, because my PC has been like a little bit weird today. I thought it was maybe like my storage kind of getting like to the end of its lifespan, but it might be my like CPU, which would be much worse because that's much more expensive. I don't really want to do that right now. So what we have is we have a start point, right, for the loop. Then we move into waiting for a certain amount of time. Then we have a period where it shoots bullets. And then we have a period where it waits again. And then it shoots bullets again. So I guess like this is the loop, start delay, and then like start this loop, right? Because that way we can easily offset them still. But they're gonna like, they're gonna get out of sync anyway, so. If we don't give them all the same values, I mean, like if this is 4 seconds and this is 5 seconds, and the next one over has this at 3 seconds and this is at 7 seconds, like these are gonna go out of sync super quick anyway. So at that point, like the start delay doesn't actually matter that much. Of course, the remedy to that is not to do that and just to give, sorry, hiccup, to just give these the same values when they're like next to each other. So yeah, we have the start delay, and then I think what we do is we do a timer, and in here we set a flip-flop for either starting or ending a timer, because these also need a timer for like the time between their shots, right? So if we just add a flip-flop here, which is always a funny word, what we can do is on A we set, and on B we end that timer. I guess this doesn't actually need to be on a timer if we're gonna like do this on a flip-flop, do we? We can just call this event like directly. So like set like shooting state or something like that, right? So set shooting state, because we can like create or set timer by event. Make that like shoot, which we'll call the shoot function, which is the C++ function, right? No, it's not. Did we call it fire? We called it fire. Okay, cool. This one will be looping with a time between shots. We already have that. And we set that to being the timer handle. And then all we need to do is we need to delay for a certain amount of time. So shooting time. And just call this function again. So set shooting state. At which point it's going to go through here and it's going to use this timer handle to stop or like end or whatever the fuck. Timer handle pause timer by handle. I guess we can just pause and unpause as well. Yeah, that's maybe better. So we do set it to begin with. In there. And it's looping, but then we immediately pause it as well. Well, I guess we don't, because the first thing we do is go through here, right? So we like unpause. We delay, we go back through here, and we pause. Then we delay, and we do this again. Passive time. I think my internet's stabilizing a little bit more now. Actually, it's still showing yellow bars, so maybe not. So yeah, this should pretty much work. Assuming that when we put this thing into the world, and I'm going to put this into the world in a place where I can like actually like test this easily. So I'm just going to put like one right here. like this. Pool manager, it automatically gets. Don't need to do any of this weird stuff. Start delay, we're gonna like time between shots. Let's set that to 0.25. And these other two also need to be like shooting time and passive time. So let's say that it's shooting for 3 seconds and then it's passive for 7 seconds. Just random numbers, really. Can be persistent world for now, that's fine. Actually, I don't think it is fine, maybe. Also, there's unresolved compiling errors. Why the fuck? Oh, yeah, I removed DLSS because, number one, I don't really think it's like going to be that relevant after all for my game. And number two, which is maybe more important, is the plugin doesn't work on like Linux, and I was trying to like get this to like boot up on Linux. So I just kind of removed the plugin from the project. I might add it back in at some point in the future. But it feels like that's a thing that you add in at the very end after the game itself, like on a base level, performs. And then you add in back DLSS to like make it potentially get a little bit extra improvement. But my goal's always been this needs to run on a Steam Deck on decently good settings without needing to rely on DLSS. So if you are like below Steam Deck specs, you do have like a pretty like weak PC at this point, I feel. So having like DLSS boost up a little bit to that 60 range seems fair. Or if you're like, I really want to play this game at like 400 frames per second, like fucking be my guest. It's like actually like pretty good for that. But you shouldn't use it to like generally get to like your target platform to get to 60. So yeah, this might not work because of the whole it's spawned at a different level thing, because it's technically in the persistent level. So when it, oh yeah, no, that's not gonna work, is it? Hold on one moment. I don't have my controller hooked up. We can still just like do this. I don't think it has a, it doesn't have an object pool. It's also got like super weird lighting. Holy hell. So yeah, it doesn't have an object pool because it's trying to get an object pool before it actually like spawns the object pool itself. So what we want to do is we want to move this to there, and that should fix that. Come on. I mean, it works. Kinda. It doesn't have any offset. I don't know why it doesn't have any offset. It's supposed to have some. Oh no. That does make sense, doesn't it? Because we need to give it a socket. It fires from a socket location. I remember. I set this up myself. We have in here somewhere spawn point names, left and right. So just like call it bullets. I don't know what this fucking thing is, but we're gonna just keep using it as a temporary thing to. What even is this? What is this from? Tutorial. Tutorial. What tutorial? I didn't make this. Is this a tutorial from Epic? Well, it's gonna be my placeholder mesh, so better be ready for that. Add sockets, bullets. Is this case sensitive? I don't know if this is case sensitive, but just to be sure, let's make sure that we have capital B on that. And then we of course do need to like move this out a little, like there. And now it should be less. There we go. So now it'll wait for, I think I said 7 seconds. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which makes sense, I think. We'll do the math in a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it does 5 every time. Time between shots is a quarter of a second. It's supposed to be shooting for 3 seconds though, which means that it should be shooting 12 shots. So it ain't doing that. Why not? No, seriously, why not? That is kind of weird, man. Okay, let me think. Is there anything like logically that I'm doing wrong here? Or is this Unreal being Unreal and doing Unreal things? I'm hoping that it is a me issue. I'm also like really tired. Sorry for yawning into the microphone. I'm guessing it might have something to do with this. No, but even if it's something where I pause it like halfway like through the timer, that would like make it sometimes like offset by shooting 1 more or less, which still is a problem. Don't get me wrong. Like, we still don't want that to happen because that makes it inconsistent and it can be frustrating for people who are like very on the edge of like playing that part of the level. But even that explanation wouldn't explain why every quarter of a second for 3 seconds results in half as many shots as I expect, more or less. It results in 5 shots. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say, hold on a second. This runs the flipping back and forth every quarter of a second. No, it fucking doesn't. We literally have a line going from here to here. All that it does every quarter of a second is fire. And I guess I might as well just print string to see if it tries to fire something and maybe the bullets are like too close to each other, so some of them like collide and vanish that way. Oh yeah, definitely should also make it say something. And let's also like make a different color just so that's easy to spot. Because I have a bunch of things printing hello at this point, because I am terrible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this actually does seem like it is firing enough times. Yeah, it's actually running the function a bunch more than it is firing bullets. That's very interesting. So is it actually spawning all those bullets and are some of them just getting destroyed? Is the next question. I'm sorry, didn't we have a bullet? Probably if I haven't stored it somewhere else, because why wouldn't I? As well as the bullet pool being invisible, so we need to bullet pool manager. There we go. Why is it all the way the fuck over there? Go into the TwinStick folder. Where is it? TwinStick. There we go. Yeah, check that out. I don't care. So I guess when this begin plays, we'll we don't need this print string anymore. I guess what we'll do is we'll print string the display name of like this bullet itself. So I use this. You know what? That makes a lot of sense because yeah, we don't need to do that on begin player. We need to do that on activate, which frankly we probably should make an event dispatcher for that, or like a blueprint implementable event, rather, just in case. But I guess. Yeah, no, so, but when they overlap with other bullets, they shouldn't do anything, because we're doing a class check being another TwinStick bullet, which... The one thing that's weird, right, is because you might be thinking, oh, maybe the bullet pool just can't provide that many bullets like that quickly, but, well... It doesn't provide that many at the moment, but just wait a moment, okay? So hold on 1 second. We will end these fools, and then you'll see the green dude in the next room. It definitely can spawn that many bullets that quickly. Like, that is not the issue. Not even close to being the issue. But this is an opportunity to actually check out whether or not the locking doors work, because I don't think I've done that properly yet. We ended that way last week, but I don't think we actually ever like tested it. There's no reason that it shouldn't work, but like that's the case for like literally everything ever. So does this also lock? No, it does. Okay, so it's definitely like not a speed issue for the bullet pool, because other things handle it much more quickly. Oh, it's a fire rate issue. It is a fire rate issue because we have that. That is it. That is it. We have the fire rate is 1 second for this guy. So I guess we just set the fire rate for this to be at 0. Because for some reason I decided that this would need to implement from the TwinStick enemy class, which doesn't fully like make a lot of sense thinking about it now. But this should now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still only fucking 5. That might be because I didn't set your fire rate properly. Why don't you have that exposed? I would have thought that you'd have that exposed. Okay, let's shoot bullet. If fire allowed at time, get world, time seconds. So if we've passed that yet, no, that makes sense. We set our new fire allowed time at actual bullet info.fire rate. Oh, fuck, okay. So what we do is, because we set our fire rate, we clamp it down to 0.1. 0.1 is probably fine. Yeah, 0.1 is totally fine, actually. So, there's a little counterintuitive, the way that I set it up, maybe. But what we'll do instead is we need to go in our rate of fire multiplier. We need to set that to 0. That way, it's always at the lowest possible, which is 10 a second, which I feel like is fine. And that should then, in theory, maybe not allow him to fire at all? Fuck. That's that though. We already have a rate of fire like value on the bullet struct itself, so maybe that's something that we can use because we have the like get bullets info, right? So we can just base this off of the bullet that it uses, and then we don't have to fill this out, which helps us a little bit. So time between shots will get replaced by the rate of fire. And it'll do that for shooting time until, okay, yeah. And to test this, what we'll do is we'll set you to use the fast bullet type. The fire rate will just be 1. So now, it's not doing anything. Why is it not doing anything? Oh my god. What did I mess up? Why did it stop shooting like altogether? Why is this at 0? Didn't I just put that back at 1? I feel like putting that at 0 is messing things up. I don't know why it's messing things up, but I feel like that's the thing that's messing things up. Yeah, so that is actually, yeah, there we go. Still doesn't seem to be super like consistent with it as to like whether or not it shoots 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it shoots 9 times now. So I guess what we do is we do rate of fire plus 10% just to make sure. Because what is probably happening is that it's checking on one frame whether or not it can shoot. And if it can't, it waits for the next loop around. And it might not be able to depending on the frame times. But if we give this like a 10% extra, it's going to be shooting a little bit slower than the same bullets would from a normal enemy. Because I think normal enemies are just at all times trying to shoot. And that's the other thing that we could do. Is we could always just like throw this into the tick. And just always make them try to shoot. I would rather not do that. For like a whole list of obvious reasons. But yeah, I feel like that has made it consistent now. So that's, yeah, that's fixed it. Okay, so we just like kind of take these and we put down a few of them in the proper places. So what I'm thinking is we kind of make this like a, not really a maze per se. We make this something where like we pull out like this wall, for instance, a little bit. Oh, maybe both of these walls. No, the first bit should be safe. So we essentially just create a, hold on, that's 180, that's good. We essentially just create a fairly narrow hallway where we like just put a couple of these like side by side. That you just kind of have to make your way through. So what I'm thinking is we make a hallway that just like connects both of these back up together, and then we can send them through the exact same thing. Otherwise, we have to design this entirely like symmetrically, and I don't really want to do that. So let's join them back up first together, and then we'll see what we actually end up doing with the rest of it. And that's a bird flying off. I don't know if you could hear that. I do have my window open because it's actually like getting quite like summery outside. It's not even like really summer yet. It's more like spring. Quite a warm spring though. Only me complaining. Quite enjoying it. Yeah, so we pretty much like have to make it this narrow, otherwise it's too easy to avoid probably. A little bit more leeway is maybe fine. I don't know if this is too long. I think maybe what we want to do is we want to give it like one of these, so that you have a bit of an area to like be safe at in the middle. Because that's going to be like the main basic like premise of like most of these hallways, I think, is you just kind of duck out of the way real quick, and then you keep on going. It's every like forced shooter segment ever in any game. This feels like it's makeable, but I think that we should be fair. Because if you're going to get caught in this, you're going to die. Because you're going to get hit a lot of times in a row. I guess we just try it out with these numbers. Is there any reasonable way for me to skip past all this? I guess I can just... lift these up. And then I can just kind of like drive under them. That should do. Right? I can just escape the confines of the actual level. There we go. I'm no clipping. Oh, really? And then we can find our way to here. Which turns out to actually... Well, it's not entirely fair, because with this, I have one less speed upgrade than I would usually have. Oh, that's definitely makeable. What the hell am I on? Now, that's definitely... That's very makeable. No, 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 no. There's no hidey holes there for you, man. No, 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 no. That's just gonna be straight up. Not gonna be hiding behind anything there. That's just gonna be a straight up hallway. So yeah, I guess let's copy this over to the other side. I think that's all there is to it. We do need to also like flip it over, but well, that actually is more of a task than I thought it would be. Hold on. But in the length, this go through. Nope. Put it in the right lengthwise position, and then Let me think. How does this make sense? Like this, right? How did that end up so far ahead? I don't know. These are also, holy hell, fucking chill down, man. All needs to be, I think, about 100 units. Oh no, are we really? For this line, it's 50 units of that. How does that happen? That's fine, we can just do that and be okay. So now they're all aligned. A very thin little strip, but we'll probably be fine. We can put some more like shooting dudes over there as well. And then next up, we move these over a little bit more. And that should be pretty much the mirror image. Fine-tuning of timing I'll do in a moment. Just want to set up the general layout here first. So there's going to be only 2 of them, I think. Alright, so far what we've done is we've had like a couple of hallways that you just go in at the right timing. Now what I think I want to do is I want to make something where you need to like go left and right because we have alternating things shooting. Here we're going to actually have like a little bit of trouble potentially getting these things properly timed. Because I'm fairly certain that the timing on these ones is just fine at the moment, more or less. But I first need to see, like, I think that the distance, and now that I'm saying like a lot, just leave me alone. I think that the distance here is pretty good, but we probably need like 3 and 3 is what I'm thinking. It's kind of like this. And maybe give this a tiny bit more room. If we want to make it really complicated, we can make 3 cycles. These two, and then the middle one. But maybe for the last little bit we can do that. For now, I don't really want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll just push this back 1 more. What I need is I need to make sure that this, that should be fine. Maybe 1 more back. Okay, so we have these 2, which will have a start delay of, let's set everything to a start delay of 0 to begin with, actually. And let's have a sip of water while I think about this. Because what we need to happen is these are going to start shooting immediately. So the start delay for these first ones, hold on, make sure that everything is selected properly, set to 0 start delay. These three are going to start shooting immediately. They will be shooting for, let's say, 4 or 5 seconds. Let's actually say 4 seconds. Then they will be passive for 4 seconds. And these will then be shooting for 4 seconds and be passive for 4 seconds and wait 4 seconds at the start. So this should create a situation where they are alternating. Issue is this doesn't create any time like between these stopping and these starting and the other way around. There needs to be a little bit of a gap between that. Otherwise there's no room for us to like weave between them. So how do we do that? I guess we set the passive time on both of these to being 5 seconds instead. Doesn't that make them go out of sync eventually though? No, because they both have that extra second of passive time. So this one will go into passive. A second later, this one will start shooting. I think they need a second at both ends for that to work out. Because what will happen is start delay 0. At 4 seconds, these will stop shooting. And these will, well, if we set the like initial, hold on, this also needs the initial start delay then to be 5. So at 4 seconds, these will stop shooting. At 5 seconds, these will start shooting. At 9 seconds, these will stop shooting. But at 9 seconds, these will also then again start shooting. So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So we need this start delay to be 4. So then, let's go back through again. At 4 seconds, these stop shooting. And these immediately start shooting at 4 seconds. No, yeah, they do. At 4 seconds, these start shooting. They keep shooting for 4 seconds, so up until 8 seconds, they shoot. And these ones start back up at 9 seconds, because they have 5 seconds of passive time. They start shooting for 4 more seconds, so they go up to 13 seconds. Now they stop again. These, I probably just should draw this because my focus is not there. So these start at 0 to 4. These start at 4 to 8. This will be aggressive. These will be passive from 4 to 9. These will be passive from 8 to 13. These will then be aggressive again from 9 to 13. So these line up again. I think in order to do this, what I need to do is I need to make this one object. Because what I need to do is I need to have 2 different timers. I need to have a timer for this, then a delay, and then set the timer for this, instead of trying to like make these line up through only actual numbers in their parameters, because I don't think that I'm going to get there. Or I could have an event dispatcher and like make these like link to each other or whatever. That's also a possibility. Like when these are done shooting, that's probably the way to do it, right? Like when these are done shooting, wait a second and then start shooting and like have that pass back and forth that way. That way it's still like more easily expandable. That might be the way to do it, because that's fairly easy to create. But that would be like an entirely different class at that point. A child class of this, to be sure, but it would be still a separate object. Still a separate class, rather. Because these are going to get out of sync is the main thing. Is I need time between these stopping and these starting to shoot, and that's only going to happen if they can communicate, I think. So let's do that. I'm sure that there might be a way that I'm overlooking at the moment, but let's create a event dispatcher on finish shooting. And then we make a child of this. Yeah. BP listener turrets, I guess is what we'll call that. I'll give that a bool for start shooting. And on begin play, if start shooting is true, we'll set shooting state initially. But we'll always BP listen to. Which will be a BP listener turrets. And assign on finish shooting. We're not doing anything. Going through A, then we go to B with the pause time again. So we don't actually want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to make these like custom events. Start shooting. Start shooting. Custom event. Pause shooting. That's pause tracing, that's something different. Yeah, so instead of we do start shooting. And when we listen, like when the thing we're listening to finishes shooting, we delay for, we'll make that a variable, listener response window. So the default to like 0.5 seconds. And when we complete, we start shooting. So let's see. We essentially still have the same issue here, but that's manageable because what we can do is that's a fantastic question. I guess we just effectively implement this again without these, so we actually don't need this like at all. But yeah, I guess we just kind of do that again. So start shooting. Pause shooting. If you just take these out, that's kind of we don't need to like, yeah, this just needs to pause the timer. This doesn't even need to do anything else. This just needs to unpause, wait, finish, and actually pause shooting. And then it's going to start shooting based on when the thing that is listening to finishes shooting again. So this is going to be like a self-perpetuating like loop, which I think is going to be a lot better. So let's do that instead. Take this transform, delete all those, put that there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish. Probably put them a little closer together. These are still a little far apart. There we go. And then we just make these three listen to this one. And these three, we listen to this one. They can all listen to the same one. That's not like that big a deal. And these three will be the ones that start shooting. And shooting time will be... Well, now we can actually make these asynchronous as well, as in like these can be 5 seconds and these can be 1 second. So it can be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5. So that's actually kind of nice. So let's set these to 5 seconds, and just to test that theory out, I'm gonna set these to 3 seconds. And we're not gonna actually like go through this entire thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna F8 and I'm just gonna fly over there. So yeah, those seem to be working quite fine. These aren't shooting at all. These also definitely need to be placed over here. I guess. Because you don't want to like go immediately from that to into that. Why aren't these working? When these start shooting, they should fucking start shooting, man. Why aren't they? What's wrong? Oh, I guess this begin play doesn't call its parent begin play, so the timer is never actually getting set. That makes sense. This parent begin play though, does it do anything? Yeah, so probably not that big a deal. Well, it actually kind of is. Yeah, let's just again copy this over. At which point, again, this might as well just be a different class. Right, because like event shoot, I guess we can still like bind to this. But you know that you don't do that. Because this only needs to call its parent. And then we set timer handle. Okay, that should have fixed it. Might not have, we'll never know. If I found didn't. Why didn't it? It always starts that timer, which actually should immediately pause as well in some cases, but on shooting finished, we delay. What the hell, man? Is it printing shoot at all, like ever? No, it is not. So it's never running this. And it's never running this because reasons. So when we start shooting, we unpause, we wait for shooting time, then we call out shooting finish. So what we can do is we can still check whether or not that is running. It is. Okay, so it is doing that. So, the fuck? I guess we don't need to do this whole like call to parent thing. What we can just do is we can just fucking make this a new custom event, because it's probably just that bit that's messing up. You can just make a different custom event that just executes the fire function. And that might solve everything. For no apparent reason, but it'll probably solve it. That's the most important bit here. Or not. What the fuck, man? So... I guess these don't need to be those events either. They can just be like separate new events. Which will call start firing and pause firing because... is there any like weirdness going on with the fact that it's still running the parent function? Because it shouldn't. But at this point, that's the only thing that I can think might be messing up. What the fuck, man? Why is it printing a million hellos? There's the base bullet prints hello when it collides with something. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, different strategy. Stop caring about this. Do that. And instead we make a can fire. Not a bite. We want a boot. So start firing, we set it to true, and otherwise we set it to false. That is brute forcing it. But if this doesn't work, fucking nothing will. So, the fuck if I know. This doesn't need to be pretty, this just needs to work. Not making an entire game on this ID, just one level. So that kind of works, except that it doesn't really. But it's a start, so let's stick with that. Quick question, what are the best practices for deciding whether to use C++ or blueprints for some task? Well, the most important consideration is just what you feel like most comfortable doing. There's just certain things that are annoying to do in C++, and if they're easier to do in Blueprint, you want to do it in Blueprint. Generally speaking, C++ like, it is technically more performant, but it's mostly, when you're comfortable with C++, you just like type faster than you can make blueprint graphs. So it just becomes faster because of that, and you start like preferring it because of that. If there's something that's like stopping you from working that fast in C++ because it's annoying to deal with, Blueprint is where you come in. Generally, the divide falls between like programming and scripting. I made some videos about this in the past, like a short that might not be up yet, it might be up, I don't know. But I also made a like full video on this topic sometime summer of last year, I believe. It's literally like Blueprint versus C++, should be easy to find. And the idea is that Blueprint is good for scripting. So that's saying, hey, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this with these specific objects. Whereas C++ is good for programming, which is just setting up a bunch of code that takes in objects, does something with those objects, without knowing like specifically what object you're working with. It's setting up the functions you can use to script out behavior in Blueprint. So yeah, things that are like systematic, that need to like have a system of code that you can put something into and something like happens to. Generally C++. If you have a specific instance of an object that you know that's going to be that instance, and you need that one specific instance to do a specific thing in a specific level or like in a specific place, you've gone like so deep down into the details. That's where you're like starting to linearly script out, okay, you specifically, not any type of this actor, but you specifically, this instance needs to do this and then this and then this and then that. And that's where Blueprint starts to shine, because that's where things like this delay node, for instance, right? That's something that Blueprint offers you, which is super convenient. You can still like implement delays with timers and stuff in C++, but it's a little bit more annoying. Things like the timeline node. This thing is an absolute lifesaver because it lets you do like timed stuff, and anything that's to do with like timing is so much easier on Blueprint than it is in C++. Anyway, yeah, let's see if that's just like that timer that I had a moment is the thing that was fucking me up. Because it might have been. We're not like doing a lot of level design so far. Because I'm getting stuck on this, what the fuck? I'm getting stuck on this. Yeah, why? Why are you all firing? You're not all supposed to fire, what the hell? Oh, I yeah, okay, so that's my bad. So as an example, that thing, what I'm setting up there, it is bad practice to begin with. It's not good to like just stuff everything into event tick. Dude, what the hell? Why did you all stop firing? Begin play, we bind. If we have you set to start shooting, you start firing. Start firing means it can fire set to true. You wait for the amount of time that you're going to be shooting, at which time you finish shooting, and you pause your fire. When you pause your when you call out your finished shooting, everything that's listening to you should delay, start shooting. Oh, that's still the wrong thing. That makes sense. Why the frame drops? The frame drops are just because I have a bunch of unbaked lighting. as you can see here. Also because going F8 mode is very like unresponsive. Like you can see that this is like 60 FPS when I go into F8 mode. I don't know, it just goes down. Also we're like at about 50 frames now, so it's like not that bad. It's just when you like start zooming out a lot, you render a bunch of stuff. Okay, so now those shoot. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted. The window needs to be a little bit bigger, admittedly. But yeah, the frame drops are entirely... where is it? Yeah, let's increase this to 1 second. Entirely to do with just like going into spectator mode, essentially, within Unreal. If I just like keep within like the actual gameplay, and I do stat FPS. You're not going to see anything dropping below like 60 most likely. Still, there's unbuilt lighting, so that's why it's not doing great. If the lighting is built, it's going to be doing better. Also, it is set to like Epic preset, I believe, so like that's not super helpful as far as like performance goes. Yeah, so this is oh my god. That's why we didn't want to do that. Okay, I remember now. Fuck yeah. Okay. But that's the basic idea of that little section. Nice. So yeah, that works. Stuffing all that into event tick is terrible. So let's try to go back over and see if we can prevent that from like needing to be the case. Because again, just if nothing else, we can just set a like timer. That's always trying to like just shoot. If can fire, and at least now it's trying to do it like 10 times a second instead of 1 time a frame. Like that instantly saved us like a couple hundred potentially like bull checks, which still isn't actually like that relevant because it's just a bull check, which is stupidly fast, so it doesn't actually matter, but might as well. It's like 2 clicks. I need this shit to be faster, man. It's so slow flying over like this. Either way, whatever the hell's going on here needs to... There needs to be more room for that. Yeah, so these need to not be like exactly after each other. Because... Hey, yo, man, what the oh, it's not such a loop. Oh, that was the issue with the previous... Oh, fuck. I just didn't set the timer to looping, did I? Yeah, I think I figured it out. Set timer handle. Let's just try this. I'm fairly certain that this is going to be it. Or not. It is looping. Well, then I don't fucking know. We're gonna go back to this, and that should work. Well, with this check in between. That should work. If not, something weird is going on with the timers, and I just don't care enough to like look deeper into it. Yeah, the timer is. It's what? Why is this timer not working? Ah, why? Print string and just print out timer whenever this thing fires. This should print out like 3 timer prints every like 0.2 seconds or something like that. But it's not. Why is it? What the? Am I going insane? I guess we just want to like not set this timer handle because it might be getting fucked with somewhere, and we don't want to fuck with it. In this case, even then, the timer is just not doing it. That's weird. Let me see if I can find anything about that on Google. Unreal timer by event not firing. What the hell? Yeah, it doesn't print anything. Then the issue is elsewhere. No fucking shit, man. Where we cannot see. Hard to imagine what could be happening though. Yeah, so maybe it's just Unreal fucking up. Somebody's... Okay, the solution for this person is to set your fucking timer in event tick, but that... Why would you ever do that? Yeah, no, they just didn't get to an answer for this one. And here's somebody from a year ago that also has a bugged issue. So there's just people that have the same issue with timers just don't fucking work. So yeah. Don't know what that's all about, but I guess we're just gonna stick with throwing it into Eventic and then rely on all this other stuff to like toggle back and forth between firing and not firing. I suppose. At this point, there's no reason for this to be a twin-stick turret anymore. We might as well, because we're not using any of its code, are we? So we just go into class settings. We just make the twin stick enemy again. I don't think we'll lose anything of importance. I'll listen to turret is complaining suddenly. Oh yeah, the finished shooting event, but we're not using that in here either, so we can just like copy that over, put that in here. Because we specifically made this event dispatcher to go in here, and we can't copy the event dispatcher for some reason, so I'll just copy the name, I suppose. And then we delete it from this one. Why are you still bitching? Point to on finish. Oh, shooting time. Yeah, no, that does need to be copied over. That's fair enough. This needs to be, yeah, now we can bind to on finish shooting. And that should make this entirely standalone without needing to be a child of the other turret thing. Okay, cool. That simplifies the code a little bit. Why are you crying? Oh, yeah, don't need to do that anymore either. Huh, fantastic. I guess we didn't give it a row name. Did we save? Did we save? It's not that big a deal if we didn't. We can very quickly get back to where we were. Because most of the last like hour has been troubleshooting an issue. Now that we have the answer that we can go with, it's probably like 5 minutes to get back there. But still, I'd rather not. So let's patiently wait for Unreal to build and start back up. And then I'm still dropping frames. I don't know why I'm dropping frames, man. Oh, the frame drops, you might be referring to the stream. Yeah, no, I don't know about that either. If you're referring to the frame drops on stream, I don't know. It's really, really weird. So there isn't, I haven't actually like checked my, yeah, even like CPU and GPU usage aren't like particularly high. Like video encode on my GPU is like just like that's, oh, that stays on top. That's weird. But sure. Yeah, video encode on my GPU is definitely like super low. So it's not like a hardware limitation either. It's gotta be like my internet connection, but it's weird. I guess that's what happens when you do rely on like a wireless connection point, because I am on like 5G. And so far it serves me fairly well, but I was worried that it wouldn't be particularly stable, and well, alright, doesn't seem to be particularly stable. But it's also the only like actual option that I have aside from like sharing a network with 2 other people and being on like 2 Wi-Fi extenders, like removed from the actual like router, which is obviously worse. So yeah. Hopefully next stream it's going to have balanced itself out, and whoever is like jamming my signal has fucked off. Alright, we have our... Come on. TwinStick turret, and then we have our listener turret as well, right? Right. We do. That's pretty much the way we left it. Right, we just like removed these things, and we just need to move a couple of things around real quick, and then copy over a few things super quick, like this event dispatcher. Not quite actually, because this needs to be a TwinStick enemy. Hello! Quavo! Is that how I pronounce it? That's how I'm going to pronounce it. It's incorrectly, feel free to correct me, but that's what I'm going to go with for now. So we just copy over the shooting time, this one, call that. Bind to on finish shooting. This event, and that should be that. But the issue was that we didn't give this thing a data table to begin with. Oh, holy hell. Yeah, let's fix that real quick. And give this thing fast bullets. That should be that. So now, before we start trying it, let's save. And see if it still works properly. I think it should. Aside from the fact that they're just not there. Small little details like that. Why aren't you? Yeah, no, they are there. Do you have any tips to get out of tutorial hell? I mean, that depends on why you're stuck in tutorial hell. Because for the most part, what ends up happening is you're stuck in tutorial hell because you're looking up tutorials for everything. And as like cyclical as it sounds, the best way to get out of tutorial hell is to stop looking up tutorials for things and try to figure things out on your own. Once you have like a base level of knowledge of the engine, that is, obviously. And then once you like actually don't know how to progress, like you don't have a clue of how to achieve something, look up some tutorials. And then once you've made something, you can still look up tutorials to like reflect on how other people have done the thing that you just made. That way you get into like a mindset and a habit of like breaking down your problems, which is what like 90% of programming is, like connecting these things together, like writing these like squiggly lines on the screen. That's not what programming is about. Programming is about taking a problem, breaking it down into like smaller sub-problems, and deciding on like what the cost of any given solution is and what you're going to go with. I wouldn't worry about what the cost of any solution is for the time being, for the most part. I would just worry about, is this like reasonably effective? As in, not everything is stuffed into event tick at all times. And just focus on coming up with, okay, what is it that I like physically need my game to do? And how can I break that down into smaller questions until those questions are answerable by knowledge that I have on how to implement. for which you're going to need to have a base level knowledge of coding and the specific engine that you're working with. So like tutorials do help with that, but like if you find yourself only use tutorials to like copy people's homework, is the way that I always describe it, that is where you like are properly in tutorial hell, and you're like not actually progressing yourself as a like technical creator, which can be fine, but it's also fairly limiting because you'll only be able to make things that other people have made tutorials about. So at some point you want to make the switch to use tutorials as inspiration or as like checkups for after you've done something yourself. That way you still can like use them to like learn and educate yourself, but you don't rely on them to like give you the solutions. At which point ChatGPT also starts becoming useful because you don't rely on stuff other people say 100%. So you can use what ChatGPT says because half the time it is bullshit. But if you're used to like applying parts of information that you see from other sources and putting them together, you can start filtering out the bullshit as well, which is really nice. There we go. Don't crash. It didn't crash. That's a good start. They're facing the wrong way though. And they probably don't have the right stuff set up, so yeah, that makes sense. Select them all. And then I guess this would be like 90. No, that's definitely not what I wanted to do. 90 minus 90. There we go. And then these three will. Oh, they already are listening to the 4. These will. Yeah, so they should be working. Why aren't they? I try to tweak the code after I finish to suit what I'm doing sometimes. So yeah, that's a good start. What also tends to help a lot, if you're like intimidated by coming up with your own entire solution, is to like create a project where you can take like ready-made solutions from like tutorials, or like marketplace assets or whatever. But it's like if you're trying to educate yourself, tutorials might still be like useful to follow along and like reconstruct. But if you do it like 2 or 3 different things, so take my own tutorials as an example. You can of course use anybody's tutorials that you want on any subject. But I have tutorials for a quest system, a dialogue system, and an inventory system. If you were to make all of those in one project, they don't yet have the capability of properly like communicating to each other, because they are entirely like separately made systems, because they're 3 different tutorial series. What might be like a good thing to like do for yourself to like get a little bit more comfortable with coming up with solutions is trying to integrate those systems to each other, making the quest system be able to like query your inventory system to see, hey, do you have a certain item in your inventory, or keep a quest that looks out for certain item pickups in the inventory system. And with the dialogue system, the same. Make the dialogue system be able to start quests or to give items. That way, you start like coming up with these very like small, tiny problems that you can like develop solutions for based on like the existing things that you make. And I think that will probably like be a little bit less intimidating than making something like from the ground up. But still, effectively like familiarize yourself with the way to like think about these problems. Such as me not knowing why the hell these things aren't shooting. What? Why? I guess the shooting time is just set to... Yeah, no, that makes sense, actually. Because there's now a new variable, isn't it? Yeah, so that's why. Okay. This should be 5 seconds. This should be 3 seconds. You know what the funny thing is about these... Let's save that. You know what the funny thing is about the like genre shifts? I'm thinking... I'm just making these at the moment as like base breakers, but we could also... I've been thinking about making a... Why doesn't this work? What the hell, man? I've been thinking about... I don't really want to make a full final dungeon, because a final dungeon would effectively like need to be one extra massive dungeon on top of everything else. And I already got so much work to do, man. So what I could do instead, as what I was thinking, is make a boss rush before the final boss. Fighting all of the bosses that you've already fought again with higher stats. That's the thing that I've been thinking. Something that's just popping into my mind right now at this moment is I could also make the final dungeon going through all the different like genre shifts. Like all the page breakers back to back to back in like somewhat more difficult versions before going to the final boss. Maybe that's a thing that we could do. I don't know for sure. Or maybe I could put those in there to like unlock some type of upgrade so that they're optional, but I can make them really difficult. That'll be fun. Or maybe I can just not do a final dungeon. I kind of feel like the last one. I know what's happening. Welcome to my brain, by the way. This is how my brain works. I'm in the middle of a sentence and suddenly I'm like, oh, I know the issue. We don't have spawn point names, do we? Well, we do, but it's left and right, and it should just be boolean. Try to see if this... Fuck! Why you be like this, man? These are, in fact, shooting. So why don't you... These worked before the engine crash, I should point out. So why did it stop working? Because shooting time is set to a reasonable amount for all of these. I'm so confused. We'll release this game eventually. I mean, if I can figure this out, eventually, hopefully, yeah. I do have a Steam page, which should be linked down below. Maybe not on the streams. Maybe I haven't added it to the stream descriptions yet. That's a fantastic point. It's not there. It'll be under literally every other video on the channel from the last like year or so. Maybe a little less than a year. So I do have a Steam page that you can like wishlist if you want to. It helps a lot. But it'll be a while before this is out, because there's a lot of work to be done, and I don't have massive amount of time to work on this project. Maybe reboot the engine. I mean, I doubt that that's the issue, but it's worth a shot. But this doesn't seem like... For the timer thing, that might have been valuable, actually. The timer messing up that we had a moment ago, before we just stuffed everything into a vent tick, which you shouldn't do too much, but fuck it. A engine reboot probably would have been a good idea to check. For this, I don't think it's too relevant. Yeah. I mean, let's just do it. Let's just save and like rebuild real quick. I mean, it takes a minute. Well, that's a minute that I can drink some water, so that's actually good for my health. Because everything else should work. Unless I copied over the wrong name for the bullet. Thanks for the wish list, that does help a lot. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be like a 2027 kind of deal. So it's not going to be too soon. Kind of depends on how much time I get to work on this. Like the more wish list it gets, the more like views like the videos on YouTube get and like Patreons and that kind of stuff. The more time frees up to work on it and the faster I can develop it. But still, there's a lot of work to be done. So it's probably going to be about 2027 by the time it's actually finished and ready, which is going to be a while. But I'm always hoping to have it finished sooner, because as much as I'm loving the project, I also would very much like to have like the free time in my life to do other projects. Right now, anytime I'm thinking about another project, I'm like, no, any time I put into that is going to be wasted because I need to work on this thing. I mean, I got more ideas that I can like reasonably develop in a lifetime anyway. Yeah, so that didn't actually like do anything. Fast bullet, TwinStick type bullets, max health, rate of fire, shooting time. Yeah, this kind of weird. I wish there was a convenient way. Is there? I don't think there's a convenient way to like open the blueprint from the details panel. That you like open blueprint, added BP. There we go. Okay, never mind. There is a convenient way. We bind to, then when we can start shooting, we start firing. When we can start firing, we can fire to true. Then we wait for shooting time, and we call out unfinished shooting, and then we pause a fire. And when we pause fire, we set can fire to being false. Fire itself takes care of like the timing between, based on the rate of fire of the bullets. So that's I guess we just print string real quick, start firing, to see if this gets called. This should get called 3 times at the beginning, and then after 5 seconds 3 more times, and after 3 seconds 3 more times. It's not getting called at all. Oh no, it is. So it is actually calling start fire. That's the wrong button. So then... Oh, spawn point names. I am an idiot. Resetting it back to the base C++ class also wiped the default value that we had. That was weird. That had a inverted thing. Okay, aside from this small little issue, which is... Why is it doing that? It shouldn't be doing that. Because these aren't doing that, are they? This was supposed to be a fun little easy idea to make this one room. I've been stuck on this for an hour and a half. I don't know what the fuck is going. Yeah, this shit what the fuck? Why do you shoot him sideways? What's wrong with you, man? What? I guess let's check. This one rotated 270 degrees and this one is not. That makes sense. That's 27 degrees. That's not quite what I wanted. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense now because these are actually pointing that way. No. So set it back to 0. That's very much not what I wanted to do. 0. And then we have the small little issue that I think they were all firing at the same time. No, they're not. Okay, so everything should work now. We have a fairly constant stream of bullets that we need to like weave and duck between. I think we should lower the amount of time between the like switching sessions. So that means that like these three probably should go down to like 2.5 seconds. And these go down to like 1 second. And for that one, I'm actually going to need to like play through for a change to see if that feels good. And when I say play through, I mean skip over half the dungeon because I removed some walls. Fun. Also, I shouldn't get lost in my own stuff. Okay, so we wait here for a moment. This hallway needs to be like less claustrophobic. But yeah, so I think that this is actually, yeah, that's pretty like well paced, I would argue. Yeah, that's pretty good. Again, aside from the fact that that definitely needs to not happen immediately after this. So these should probably go turn 180 degrees around and go to here. But we can use a similar setup here to make these. I think that these are pretty nice as like a kind of like a daisy chain of like bullet firers. Because what we can do is we can like set up 2 of these here. Move these back a little bit as well to make them fall in line. Right, so when these 2 finish, these 2 start, And when these two finish, these two start, and so on and so forth. And then we can loop them back around by saying, hey, you listen to the very last ones here, and then you two listen to one of these two, and you two listen to one of these two, and that effectively makes them loop in a very easy and convenient way. And the response window probably should be a little lower than a second for these. These can be relatively short. Let's set that to half a second instead for all of these. And I think we're going to set the shooting time to 1.5 seconds for all these. 1.5 seconds is what I said. And then we copy those over, rotate them around 180 degrees. And then the basic idea behind this would be that we make these listen to these as well, these listen to these, and then these listen to these. So when these finish, these start. When these finish, these start. So you can kind of like, that's the idea. I don't know if the timings are going to work out by default. We might need to mess around with those a little bit to make them fair. Because we don't want this to be absolutely insane and infuriating. We only want it to be mildly annoying and drive people to go absolutely mad, because we're making a Dark Souls game. We're not making a Souls-like, by the way. I make that as a joke. I made another video about why this is not a Souls-like, or why I'm like moving away from thinking about this as a Souls-like, rather. Before we even like fly over there, let's just... none of these are marked as start fire. That makes sense. Well, no, they're all marked as start fire. Which is probably equally as bad, actually. I hate not selecting something. Is there a way that I can like filter what I can click on in the editor? There probably is with like an editor utility action or whatever. That might be worth looking into. Because if I can make a filter in like a widget somewhere, where I can say, hey, I only want to be able to select this like class right now, that would solve so many minor annoyances in a day for me. It's going to be one of those things where I spend... Oh, they're in the persistent level, aren't they? Yes, they all are. That's also why I'm not getting the bullet pool manager. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's very... that's not what I wanted to do. Where it's very unlikely to actually like, do anything. Like productively, the amount of time that I'm going to spend making the solution to this is in no way ever going to be worth it. Because it saves literally like 2 clicks a few times a day. But it also saves a lot of annoyance. Yeah, so this doesn't work the way that I thought it was going to work. Why not? I mean, these two look at turn number 8. Oh. Is this them? These are listening to themselves. Well, yeah, that's a bad idea. These need to listen to these. Are you listening to turret number 5? No, none of these make sense. Unless that's... no, none of these make sense. What the fuck? Blueprints or C++, which is better? Both. They're both good at their own... like their own tasks. Like Blueprint is like fantastic for linearly scripting out specific like instance behavior, as I said before, or like simple like timing based. Like this, all this timing based stuff is nice in Blueprint because we can like just slap in a delay node and call it a day. Don't have to like set up timers through C++ and that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more tedious to do in C++. But if we're gonna go into like the base functionality of how these things actually work, with like shooting these bullets and like activating and getting them to the bullet pool and whatever. Like that's just so much smoother to do in C++. Not even to mention if I go into like my inventory plugin, right? If I look at like all this stuff, I'm not gonna like stop scrolling to like let you read this because it's a lot. Like all this system code for the inventory is so much faster and more convenient to write in C++ than it is in Blueprint. And I know that because I made this entire thing with a few different changes in Blueprint as well, because that's what my inventory course is. My inventory course is the Blueprint version of this thing. Then I decided to rename it in C++ for myself as a plugin, which was so much more convenient to do and so much smoother and easier in a lot of ways for me. Partly because I already like did all of the like code architecting when making the inventory course, but it's also like writing float x equals 5, float y equals 7. You know, if you actually type properly, float x equals 5, float y equals 7, and then float z equals x plus y. This is a bunch faster than going into Blueprint and going into like a TwinStick turret and like making 3 different things and like calling this like X and this one clicking on it, calling this one Y, clicking on it, calling this one Z, changing these all to floats. Ideally you would just change the first one to float and then the others that you make, whatever. And then you'd have like, you'd make a function where you like can like set this to a value, and then you set this to a value, and then you like set this to that, and you need to add a plus node, and like this works. I mean, this is a fucking useless function because why would you make this? But this is just slower. It's like double the amount of like input actions as it would be in C++. So I like doing things as much as possible in C++ because it's just faster, as well as having like the AI assistance, right? Because I can just it has autocomplete just as like IntelliSense in most IDEs. I'm using Rider, so it's pretty good out of the get-go. But I also have GitHub Copilot, so I can just like check if inventory is empty, and then it's going to well, I already do that somewhere, so it's probably not going to actually do anything. But it can help me like write and finish up code. Like if I start like doing a for loop of int I equals 0, then it should start taking over at any point. Maybe not. Not very consistent. I is less than or equal to like 7, and then I plus plus, It's probably very confused as to why I'm putting in a for loop at the very end of this, which is why it's not doing too much. But if I were to just like take this stuff out for a moment, right? It should... It's not really like doing too much. Why not? It's a very bad example, Copilot. You should be doing stuff. Why aren't you doing stuff? Okay, it's not really cooperating at the moment. Just trust me, bro. It helps a lot. And like Blueprint also doesn't have those tools. But I decided on Blueprint because I don't want to take too long to learn C++ in case I don't like game dev. I mean, that's valid. Blueprints are like a little more beginner friendly and have like a lower barrier to entry to like get into. So, and it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because it's easier to like work with Blueprint without fundamentally understanding object-oriented programming. Which means that if you stick yourself with Blueprint, there's a good chance that you won't like intuit how object-oriented programming works. Where C++ makes it, in my opinion, like a little bit more of a necessity to understand, which means that you're going to be learning how it works. Otherwise, you're not going to be working with it. But that's a bit of like a chicken or the egg situation, right? But in general, like Blueprint is just a lot more straightforward. Because it's so visual, because it has like all of the like easy to understand like pins, like everything here makes sense. Like the only thing that might not make sense immediately if you're just starting with the engine is this event pin. But like this is a green pin that has time, so you put a green pin, like a green noodle into it, and green noodles are floats. These are red pins, so you can put red stuff into them. C++, you also get told what type of parameter a function takes in, don't get me wrong. But it's like a little less frictionless. It's a little more work on your end to like figure out the signature of a function and providing in the right things. In Blueprint, you never have to wonder, oh, what arguments takes this function again? I don't remember. Because you just add the node and they're all there for you. Which also means that in Blueprint, it's much easier to make accidental discoveries of features, which is especially good if you're like experimenting and like learning. Speaking of which, I think this is where we left off, right? I really should finish things before I start going on tangents. I mean, this is not about how I envisioned it, but it's still pretty much, yeah, no, that pretty much works. I was envisioning going like every other. For which I suppose I need to make these listen to these to these, these to these, and these to those. But this might be better? Question mark? I don't know. It'll be less tedious because it's fewer times that you have to wait, but you only have to wait for like literally a second every time, so it's probably not that big a deal. This entire thing takes probably 10 seconds to get through, which is a lot, but also not that much. I'm a sub, you help me a lot. Well, that's what I'm here for. Helping people. I also hate the fact that that little transition goes upside down. I don't know why it does that. No, that's still not quite. So if we come in here, right? We can now immediately go through there. That's actually not that bad, because that... Yeah, so what happens is we like get here, we can go to here, we need to immediately start moving when these stop, because otherwise we are messed up. But that only happens for one of them. Because let's just simulate this with the mouse cursor. We go here, we go there, we go there, we go there. That's not what I wanted still. But it might be good in its own way. So when this finishes, this one should start. I know what the issue is. We need to like go zigzag. I don't know why this is taking me so long to figure out. That's super obvious. So what we actually want is we want this to follow this. And then these should follow these. They might need to zigzag in the other way. I think they do. From like left to right instead of right to left. We'll see. Okay. This is likely the wrong way around, which makes it super easy to get through. Yeah, so what we have now... I have an idea as to how to fix this, but what we have now is we effectively just have a bunch of roadblocks without any like agency from like being shot from behind. So what I actually kind of want, I was reaching out to my screen to show you. Of course you can't see my fingers. But what I actually want is when like this one stops shooting, these ones should start shooting again. But because they're like two by two, that's a thing that we can fairly easily do, because when this one, like this one starts with shooting, right? This one will not. Then this one will listen to this one. And I need to focus here for a moment. And then this one will listen to that one. And then so what we'll have is this one will start. When this one stops, this one will start. And when this one stops, this one will start. When this one stops, this one will start. Does that make sense? It might not. We'll have to wait for the loop to come back around in a moment. So yeah, we have that, and that. And then we need to like get a move on. I think that... So that blocks us, that we need to move on. We need to move on. I think that works. That might be a little like too overkill, but I think that works. And then we effectively just duplicate this entire setup to fire when like this one is finished. So we like loop this to that, and then this to that. Right? Hold on, this one starts, then we do... So top right to bottom right, top left to bottom left. So top right to bottom right to top left to bottom left to top right to bottom right to top left to bottom left, to top right. We're gonna get there. To bottom right, to top left, to bottom left. And then when this one is finished, we loop all the way around back to this one. So this is going to be listening to like the very bottom left, which is turret 16. Am I correct in that? Yes. That'll be pretty cool. I hope so. It might also be super fucked. Still doesn't do the thing where it like creates the agency in the way that I want. So what I want is I want two in parallel to start. So these two should fire at the same time. Didn't know you already have a Steam badge. Yeah, I've had it for a while. Gotta start collecting those wish lists, man. So yeah, what we need to do is we need to have two firing in parallel with... Yeah, so we like fire these two. I don't know, man. My brain isn't doing things. I've been working with Linux all day. My brain's done with its brain juice. It doesn't do brain stuff. So this one starts. And I guess we want this one to go with that. So what if we do it like this? We have these two both start, and then these two. So we have outer two, inner two, outer two, inner two. I think that's gonna be the way that we do it. Yeah, that actually feels like it makes sense. And then we'll, for now, do this. So, and then we'll link these outer two to these inner two. And then we'll link these inner two back to the outer two. And I accidentally bumped my controller, so this is now very dramatic. Hold on. Hold on. No. Stop. Thanks. But doing it a little bit maybe is actually not a bad idea, because it's... Hold on, no, that doesn't make sense. No. This needs to link to that, or to that, or it actually doesn't matter. System requirements are my exact PC. They're probably going to go down. I just didn't want to make a like Steam page that people would wishlist, and then potentially like not be able to actually run the game. So I set them to be like fairly high, just to be sure. The idea is that it's going to be able to run fairly stably most of the time at 60 FPS on like at least medium to high settings on the Steam Deck. Like that's the goal. Of course, I'm not going to run on like super epic cinematic settings on the Steam Deck. Like we've got to be realistic here. But generally, I want them to be able to like. I want this to be playable and look good enough on Steam Deck. So any PC that's more powerful than a Steam Deck is going to be able to like run it. And at this point, like especially like 2 years from now or a year and a half from now, whenever I finish this game, when this game releases, I imagine that most PCs will be more powerful than like a basic Steam Deck. So it should be fine. And there's always the like low settings as well. Like if I just go engine scalability and set everything to low, because everything is cel shaded, it doesn't look that much worse. When there's like actual meshes in place with like textures and stuff, it'll look a little worse. But now you can effectively run this on an iPhone. So essentially anybody should be able to run the game. Most people will be able to run the game on decent settings. And it should run very well even on high settings if you have a good PC. Like on Epic settings, it should run at a 120 on my PC. And if it doesn't run on 120 on my PC, there's optimization that needs to be done. It's kind of the idea. And that's ideally without DLSS bullshit. But if I can like make 90 without DLSS and I can make it 120 with DLSS, I feel like that's kind of fair. I don't think this still accomplishes what I wanted to do, but it is a neat effect. Also, these don't link up so they don't loop. So what I want is these two and these two to fire at the same time. These two and these two to fire at the same time. And then that's what I want. Yeah, okay. I got it. I fucking figured out what I need, I think. These are going to be starting. I'm going to be linked up to this final one. And these four are all going to be linked up to like literally any of those four. Ideally, I want these to also fire in tandem with these. So what we actually probably need to do is make an array of things that it listens out for. But let's just see what it is like when we do it like this. So we have these two, then those two. No, I don't look too much at like the internal engine code because that stuff is largely above my pay grade. And when it's, well, it's not always. Sometimes I do dive into something to see how it works. But I don't like go through and like, where is it? There it is. Like go through all this source because number one, it's like a lot of code. This is not, that's third party. Like it's actually like a lot of code, like insanely so. So the only times that I like actually look at the source code is at times where I'm like, oh, hold on, I am working with an extension of some class. For instance, here with the TwinStick enemy. Let's open up the header file real quick. TwinStick pawn, and I'm like, oh, I need to understand how something in like the base class of pawn works. Then I open up the class and look at like, hey, can I find like the function or the variable I'm looking at? And it's very well commented, the source code. So generally speaking, it's fairly easy to understand what you're looking for once you find it. But I find that like studying this as if it's like a textbook is kind of worthless. I just dive in here when I have a specific question and looking for a specific answer, and that way, like bit by bit, like start to understand a little bit more. For the most part, like this is not stuff that you actually like super need to care about. So yeah, kind of that. So these two, those two, those two, did these get their all to 12? Yeah. I would say around code is the easiest big project code. Like I'm amazed how clear and well it is. Yeah, it is. It's kind of funny, right? Because the source code itself is better documentation than their actual documentation, which doesn't excuse their lack of good documentation, mind you, because they do need to like improve that. They have been improving that, to be fair. Like they've been improving that quite a lot, and hopefully they will keep improving that. But just looking at the source code when you have a question about something is Like oftentimes a pretty good way of doing things. Okay, so we do this, then that, and then we can all the way go through there, right? So that's, I mean, that might just be fine, but I would prefer. I think I need to change this to be an array, right? Because when these two finish, these two should start, but when these two finish, these two should start. So this one should start. When this one finishes. Well, no, this one should start when this one finishes and when this one finishes. Now this one should start, bad example, this one should start at the start. This one should start when both this one finishes, I think, maybe. Hold on. You know what? I think that this is pretty good. There's documentation. I mean, right? Yeah. Unreal like 5, since they've been like since Unreal 5.2, I want to say, they've been like actively reworking like their documentation website and that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit better. But generally, it's just like putting what's in here on a website with a search function. Which the fact that it has a proper search function is very helpful. But comparing that to something like Godot or even Unity, where most documentation pages have examples of how certain functions could be implemented and used, it's nowhere near that. That being said, they have separate other tutorial pages on their website as well. So that's something that's often forgotten. Like Unreal has instructional like content on their website as well. And that is a resource that I do look at regularly when I try to like learn a new bit. Like when I tried to figure out state trees, like at this point like half a year ago, I read their articles on state trees and their like example, like little tutorial, a bunch of times. And then from there, of course, you start like building stuff out yourself. But that is very helpful content. And when you're like trying to learn a full like specific system, that is much more helpful than a bunch of individual documentation pages as well. Still would very much like the individual documentation pages to be there. But I suppose you can't have everything. Well, you very much can. And hopefully we'll get there at some point. That we do have both. Yeah, so I can just kind of like keep going here. So what I ideally would want is to have to like go here and then there and then there, like exactly like this, but all the way through, right? But I guess for now this is fine. I guess I try to find information in the documentation. So the documentation is just explaining what things that are in the engine exist do, ideally with examples. If you have like specific questions on how to do X, Y, or Z, that's generally not what documentation is for. That's what like tutorialization is for, which they have some stuff but limited. But like documentation is like a separate concept from tutorials. So if you have like a specific niche request for how do I make X, that's not where documentation like is. That's not what that's for. What documentation is for is asking, hey, what does this do? And it doesn't do a great job at that either. But that's the purpose of documentation. Like that's why I say like this is effectively as good of a documentation as the website, because everything here pretty much has like a note for, hey, this is what that does, this is what that does. Ideally, you would have a web page that would explain this in like more than one sentence. Well, this is just a float, so maybe that's a little, like pawn start fire. I don't even know what the hell that is. I suppose some of these functions, there's not that much to go at. Like deeper than these couple of lines. But running into this function, it would be nice if I can just put that into like their search engine and figure out, okay, this is what that function does, this is the object that it exists on, this is the parameters it takes, and this is maybe the couple of different like overloads that it has as well. But yeah, I would argue that aside from explaining the systems that they develop, like having the gameplay ability system introductory and the state tree introductory and the networking introductory, like those like blogs more or less. I don't really know that Unreal necessarily should be putting in too much like time and effort into like tutorializing their engine too much, because there's a whole community, including me, that does that for them, and I would much rather they use those resources to actually like develop the engine and write actual documentation. Claude is a great for finding design patterns and specific use cases. Yeah, Claude is amazing. It's better than ChatGPT. It's just kind of a shame that it's a free version, at least last time that I tried it, is much more limited than the free version of ChatGPT, which is a little like too bad. Because the free version of ChatGPT just knocks you down to like a slightly less powerful model, but it's still fine. The free version of Claude just stops talking to you, which is annoying. And I don't use them enough to feel good paying for them. So, and besides, I don't even take like PayPal payment, I don't think. So that also complicates things a little, because I prefer paying over PayPal for these kind of things. Let's make this wall a little shorter and add in... I'm just trying to make this up as I go. They've reached the Claude limit. They must have increased it then, because when I tried it, I literally reached it within like 10 minutes. So they must have increased that limit, because it was, which is a good thing, because it was like pretty obtusely, annoyingly low when I used it. I guess we can just put down like an enemy here or something to like spice things up a little bit. What bullets do you fire? Heavy bullets. You know what? Why not? I can always just change that. Literally just one name. It does, however, need a nav, and I need to go to... No, I don't. I reach it on Pro constantly. So you even have like a very limiting amount of queries when you pay for it, which makes sense to a certain extent because it still costs money. So if you like use it a lot, actually got a notification that there's one request left from me and it will reset at 4 a.m. So yeah, I get those notifications like pretty quickly. The thing is, when you do that with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, it just knocks you down to like their GPT 3.5 model, which is still pretty good. and you can just keep talking. You can't generate images anymore, but like I don't care about that. Adding files will easy. Oh, so it's about your input query length. Well, yeah, I do like very much explain what I want and or what my problem is in like very excruciating detail when I'm talking to AI, because otherwise, especially with Unreal stuff, man, otherwise it will make assumptions and just start making shit up. So I do like give it like quite a lot of stuff to work with, and generally also like based in the actual code that I'm working on. So I'm supposing that like my queries might be a little bit on the longer side. I mean, most of the time I don't. I use ChatGPT mostly for like design pattern discussion. Like, hey, does it make sense to use like a data table based approach for like these bullets, for instance, or should I do this with like data assets? Should I do this just as like a struct variable on the thing itself, or that kind of stuff, right? And then when I'm actually like asking anything to like provide code for me, that's where like Copilot comes in mostly. So that's not really an issue. And when I'm troubleshooting code, I also go to ChatGPT just to see, hey, this error code. Usually, I understand what's wrong with an error code. If it doesn't immediately click, I just throw it into ChatGPT, and usually it can give me an answer. And if it doesn't, I start adding in the code that it is about as well. We've almost got this room filled up. That's a little less than I would have liked to do today, to be honest with you. But it's, at the same time, kind of surprising that we filled up so much. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, actually, now that we're fine-tuning some stuff a little bit. Not that one. That one. And this one, and I'm going to move this like 150 units, and I'm going to do the same with these, because this little hallway is just too fucking thin, man. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then move this as well, which will mean that I have to move this. Naming things it is really good at. I'll give you that. I mean, it is a language model. I would hope that it would be good at that. Right? The question is, when you're going through this part of the level, right, this like little maze area, at this point, does it still feel like a room? Or does this actually feel like a bunch of like actual like small disconnected rooms? Because that's kind of what I'm hoping. That's not just like, oh, this is one big room that I'm making my way through. Kind of don't want it to feel like that. So I hope that that's the feeling that's going to come through. I guess a little like implication with like different art assets and that kind of stuff might help in that as well. But I should try to not rely too much on, oh, we'll figure it out in the art stage, because then the art stage is going to be super like annoying and tedious to deal with. And it's definitely like not my strong suit either, making art assets. So yeah, don't use that too much as a crutch. But yeah, I think just like throwing down a couple enemies here and making a door we pretty much have this area finished up, which I feel like is a good thing to do on Thursday, because it's been a long stream. Again, my brain isn't braining, so before we start filling this out with enemies and like a barrier pattern, for lack of a better term, I want to look at this with a bit more of a critical eye when I'm not like only half awake, and decide on, hey, should I change anything about this layout? I feel pretty good about it right now, but that doesn't mean that it's actually like a good idea to like stick with this for like game stuff. So I want to just look at this with a little bit more of a clear eye before I start filling this in, and then we can do like one more set of rooms and then the boss fight, and hopefully we'll be able to do at least all of the rooms up to the boss fight on Thursday. And then next week we can do the boss fight, and then we'll have our TwinStick shooter segment for the game done. Which means that the overhaul of the tutorial as a whole will be effectively done. We'll need to redo some of the platforming that we have here still as well. I'll probably do that off stream, just on my own time. Then the tutorial revamp will be done, by which point I'll also hopefully be finished animating the next boss fight, so we can start like coding him on stream. I have some temporary, that's the wrong fucking level. I have rigged up and made temporary animations for this dude already. Temporary as in they very much do clip through each other, and there is maybe a wee bit of pinching going on with everything on his backside, which is potentially less than ideal, but his idle animations are kind of there. I've got his attack animations, again, temporary ones, very quickly slapped together ones. I want to maybe fine-tune those a little bit more if at all possible before I jump into coding him, but effectively this guy should be ready to start like actually coding. Again, I'm aware that the tentacles clip through his arms. For now, that's not priority number one. Have you implemented the asset manager yet? I'm not really like using much to do with the asset manager, to be honest. I think I used the asset manager for, well, do I have any? For my inventory system, I think I use it at some points for the saving and loading of like item references, I think. I'm going to look at that. I have it right here somewhere. User spline and no, that's just IK. It's just done in Blender. Let's see. We have, I think, an inventory subsystem. Save inventory. From objects, that's not it. Save inventory, update inventory, save game objects. From objects, create or load inventory, save. Load actor. Yeah, so here we have the asset manager, right? So when I load a game, it gets the corresponding item assets based on the object path that I saved to my save object, that kind of stuff. That's what I use the asset manager for. But aside from that, like, there's not actually like anything to do stuff with, because I don't really have like much in terms of like data assets that I need to like manage, or any other assets in that way. But this is a decent example where I'm like, yeah, I need to save which items exist in every inventory when I like close a level. So it just saves the items as their asset path in the save object. And then when I load it, I use the asset manager to take that asset path and get a reference to the asset in memory again. So that way you can save objects or save like references to assets, because obviously just saving a pointer to an object in memory isn't possible. Well, you could save it, but it's kind of useless because next time the game runs, it's not going to be in the same place in memory. So that's going to result in issues. Anyway, yeah, no, we did some good stuff. We didn't do a lot of stuff, but what we did was good stuff, because I fucking say so. So yeah, all that, and then after this TwinStick shooter thing is done, we're probably going to actually program this dude. And I want to start doing some art as well for the purple colored dungeon, the catacombs. Because I don't want to, I think maybe I said this in a stream before, maybe I said this to some friends, I don't know, on the Discord or whatever. I don't want to end up in a situation where I have like programmed and like level designed the entire game and then need to go in and make the art for the entire game, because then I'll be spending like a year only doing art assets, and that's going to drive me insane. So I should start doing some like base level artwork for the actual like first dungeon of the game, which also lets me go through, not the tutorial yet. The tutorial is the last thing that we're going to go ahead and do art for, in case anything needs to be changed up still. It also gives me the opportunity to like let people play through that entire dungeon, which most people that have tested have already played through. But this time with the actual like vibe and feelings and atmosphere of the game, and specifically that dungeon, of course. Which I think is valuable, because of course I want to have people like mechanically test the game, and that's good enough to do in a block out, but actual proper real world like tests needs to be done with the art assets in place. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So I want to give that a little bit of attention as well. I'll probably do most of the art asset creation off stream, I want to say, because I'm bad at it. Anyway, it's been a good one. Hopefully the next stream I'm not going to be dropping 17% of my frames. I have no idea why that's still happening. Fuck my internet. See you guys on Thursday.